Hi and welcome back to you, doers. In our last tutorial, we have seen the basic accounts and the configuration of the chart of accounts. To go further, let's now check out together the tips and tricks on how to update your chart of accounts when you set up your accounting for the first time. This video will recommend suitable approaches by showing you how to update all accounts effortlessly in batches through a spreadsheet import. Let's now jump in the database to see how to do that. So here we are in our database for my Furniture Flix company, and what I need to do to make my accounting configurations ready is first update my chart of accounts. So what I'm going to do is go in the configuration of the accounting application and check for my chart of accounts menu. So instead of here manually updating account by account, what I need to do is select the whole list and export it into a spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on Export. Here you see that Odoo already gives me some fields to export. What I want to add in addition is to select the I want to update data feature. This feature enables us then afterwards when you import to make sure that you update the right records and not adding new ones. What I'm going to add as well is the deprecated field here because we're going to need it when we want to update the chart of accounts. And I'm just going to export. Once this is done, we're going to open it and see what happens behind that. So what you see in the first column is what we call the external ID. So it's something that's really important. It's really important concept in Odoo because it's a unique code for any information in your database. So it's for your chart of accounts, for your contacts, for anything in the system. And when you update through an import, you need this information to make sure that you update the right information in the system. So color the column to make sure that you don't update it. Another important information that you should not change easily is the account type. Remember, we've talked about it. It's a very important concept in Odoo, and you should not update for the account type for existing accounts, only for new ones that you're going to add. So let's say here now that you want to update the account. So what I always say is don't create a whole chart of accounts. Update the existing one. So what you, for example, let's say I have an account here in fixed assets. Here my vehicles account, I don't like how it's named. So I'm just going to change the name. And instead of vehicles, I'm just going to put cars. So super easy. You can change the names to whatever you like, there's no restriction here. What is important is when you want to change the account code instead, depending on your country's accounting principles, you have more or less restrictions. So for example, in the Philippines, the account code is really important when you want to split the accounts into the financial report. So this is what gives us the balance sheet and the profit and loss statement. So here I can change it, but only to a certain extent. So always keep the first two digits intact and change the rest of it if you like, no restrictions for that. For countries like the US or UK, for example, the account code is not really important for the financial reports. It's only the account type that counts. So you don't have any restriction in that case, so make sure that you know your country's accounting criteria before updating your chart of accounts. Now, if you want to add a new account, super easy, you just go at the bottom of the page and you add a new one to the lists basically. So here in that case, you can just, let's say, I want a new expense account, miscellaneous expenses for example. Here you have to put an account type because it's an account that doesn't exist yet. So if you have doubts on which account type to choose from, you just take the closest existing account to the one you want to create and just stick to the same configuration. So here I'm just going to put expenses and that's basically it. Okay, here you don't need to put an external ID if you don't want to put one. It's just going to create a new account and it will assign an external ID on its own. But if you want to, you can always put here account and a sequence to make sure that you have a unique code in your external ID. But for me, I'm just going to leave it as is. Alright. It doesn't mean, however, that you can delete some accounts that you don't use. it's not really a good idea because when you update a chart of accounts and there are of course some accounts that you're never going to use, it's better to deprecate them. So deprecate in Odoo means archives. Basically, so they still exist but you can't choose them when you are creating accounting entries. Why is it important? Because Odoo, there are a lot of default configuration, default accounts that we use, like for example the receivable accounts. It's always the same one that is assigned for you to create a new contact. So it's really important that you don't delete those by mistake because afterwards you're gonna get error messages. What's also important here, and I don't know if you noticed it in the system, is that you have what we call a current year earnings account. Here, this account type, what's really important is that you always keep one account like this. You can change it, it's Odoo specific. So basically, it enables us to give the total benefit or loss of the year in your P&L statement. So just remember that you can only keep one and you should not deprecate it and you should not delete it, okay? Well, we've done all our updates. I'm just going to save the updates in my file and I'm going back into the database and update it through an import. So when you want to update, afterwards you just go and import the records. Here we can see an import smart button. Now once you click this, we can see that it gives us option to import contacts, a chart of accounts, or journal items. Now of course we can choose to import chart of accounts, but let me show you another way. Let's go back to chart of accounts. Now here we can just click the gear icon and choose import records. This automatically allows us to import a record of chart of accounts instead of going through the other things to import. So let's now click upload file and I'm going to choose here my new file that I just updated. So here, as you can see, since I have the proper column names, Odoo already gives me the right fields to choose from. And always, when you want to import back again, test if everything works, so making sure everything's valid. Odoo says okay, I'm just going to import it again. And so what happens here is, let's check out for example our account for my vehicles. If I go back here, you see that it has updated the name properly and the code as well. So it's super easy and it just takes me like much less time to update it through an import than through manually line by line. That's all for me in this video. Thank you for watching.